One final time here on WCTV for the 2023-24 school year, and why not end it off with anything else but Jacket Sports Weekly.
Jacket Sports Weekly, where you can find everything Waynesburg University sports. Tune in every week to our panel as they take a deep dive into Waynesburg sports. We cover everything from football.
Turning around is Isaac Trout. Did he get the feet down? We will wait for the mark. And they call it a touchdown.
To basketball.
Ball. Got it! We're all tied up!
To softball.
Max this one. Left field. Kiss it goodbye!
Stay up to date with all your favorite Waynesburg University sports with us at Jacket Sports Weekly.
As always, we got to open things up with the two hosts, myself, Logan Lepiscopo, and my good friend Seth Adams. Sir, one final time.
I can't believe it, to be honest.
It's been a long year. A lot of hosting.
It's been a very long year. Yeah.
But one last time, we're going to analyze some Waynesburg University sports. Shorter opening segment. We just got 3 to cover, which will be the 3 main segments to cover. We'll start off with the baseball team. They had a doubleheader against Grove City, their last doubleheader conference play, split that, and then tied their single-season win record with a win against Juniata.
Yeah, Juniata, they lost the first game 5-3. Then they got the record, like you said, in the second game, winning 6-4. And congrats to the baseball team. I mean, really, you guys have shown what you've got, and you proved it. Those preseason polls, forget about it. You're finishing second in the conference, and props to you guys for all your hard work. I mean, what else could you ask for a team that was projected so low, now second in the conference, and a chance of winning the PAC championship? I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, and so as the way the tournament has worked in previous years, there's a 4-team double elimination tournament for baseball. Obviously, season's not wrapped up. They still have a doubleheader to play. But as of right now, if the season were to end, it would be against the team they just finished the conference season against in Grove City. Now, obviously, there is a host site for the tournament. There's no home turf advantage unless you just so happen to be that team that is given that. So Waynesburg, as right now, we play Grove City. We'll see how things shake out with the rest of the conference. But now over to softball, sticking with the Diamond. Allegheny dropped the doubleheader both games. It was not a pretty performance for a softball team. But then they were able to split a doubleheader against Westminster.
Huge. I mean, because if they were losing that, they would have
been probably out.
They would have been out. OUT. But splitting that game, they got the first win 3-2 in extra innings in the 9th inning. But then they lost the next one 5-4, which just shows that this team could still compete. I mean, we're back-to-back PAC champs. I mean, this team, they have the caliber of play to get them this far. So I say they're just going to be a sleeper the whole time. I mean, finishing in back-to-back champs, like I said, they had just a little bit of a shaky year, maybe some tough losses, losing by 1 or 2 runs. I mean, in the postseason, anything could happen. And this team, I believe, has the caliber, to be able to go all the way once again.
Yeah, if you really think about, put it into professional sports, it's like if the Chiefs were to go in as a wild card team this year. They're still the Chiefs when it comes to the playoff time. Yeah. So softball team, they made it in, and the PAC tournament for softball will begin on Thursday. Waynesburg will face off against Geneva at the host site in Westminster. So that will be the first of action, as long as the ladies can make it out of there, against Geneva. And then we'll have a roundup today of track and field. The men's and women's team just competed in the outdoor PAC championships. And Seth, we had quite a few medalists for the men's side of things and a lot of top 10 finishes for the women's team.
Yeah, a ton of great performances, and props to all the athletes. I mean, in the PAC championship, lasting 2 days, so a lot of time and effort put into this, but just so many top finishes, some program records, some top finalists, some first place finishes. I mean, what else can you ask for? It's just, they got a couple more after this, a couple last chance meets, but we'll get more into that later. But just an outstanding performance, and the weather was beautiful this last week.
It was absolutely beautiful, and we'll have Michael McKenzie on one last time to really break down, who finished where and what we can maybe expect for what athletes will be taking part in these qualifiers to try and make it to the Nationals. But that's going to do it here on our opening segment of Jacket Sports Weekly. We'll be right back with the Waynesburg University baseball team.
This is some spice.
cornucopia.
Try instead of train.
I love this show.
Here on our first segment of Jacket Sports Weekly, talking about the baseball team that is on a historical season pace. Myself, Logan Episcopo, Seth Adams, joined by Spencer Ferteri here, rocking the Akron Rubber Ducks.
Baseball.
Shout out to baseball.
I do have to say, I couldn't find a new shirt, guys, so I am recycling this. I mean,
How dare you.
I searched in my
Shame.
closet.
I've never worn this blue one.
I've worn this like 4 times.
I've never
think.
All right,
worn
it's all right.
this
It's
blue
all right.
one.
It's all good.
So let's talk about this baseball team. I mentioned that it is a historical season for them. They just tied, and we mentioned the open segment, the single season wins record. I mean, let's just talk about overall this team, because this is the last episode. Let's just give an overall assessment of this season.
Well, I think this team proved a lot of people wrong, and I think I can speak for both of you, and I don't think any of us expected this team to be this good. And again, we've mentioned it all year. This is a team with not really too many new additions. We have the addition of Trent Rafa, who kind of replaced the injured Marcos Mendez, and then Garrett Comer. Those are really the only 2 new pieces. I guess you can talk about Mike McCready, maybe Ryan Ofer, but those are really the only 2 big pieces. And this is a baseball team that is thriving in this conference. They had one real bad loss against W&J, and we'll probably get into that a little bit later in the playoff scenario. But again, this is a team that, I mean, speaking for myself, I did not expect them to be this good. I said it in the earlier part of the year. I think this team is a lot more exciting to watch than softball. Usually we're used to seeing softball dominate them. They've been struggling this year, but baseball has been very consistent, and I mean, they look like they can make a run in this tournament.
And they got one more series before those playoffs, like you mentioned, against Denison. Now, Spencer, is this series really even that big of a deal? I mean, non-conference, we talked about it before, non-conference. It's not really a big deal, but this is a very tough matchup.
Yeah, I'm a little confused as to why head coach Perry scheduled this. I get it to, keep the guys loose, but scheduling it against Denison, I mean, they were ranked number 1 at the beginning of the season for D3 baseball. It's a tough team. Now, you mentioned they tied the record for all-time wins. Do they break it against Denison? I don't know. Denison is it would be insane, but Denison is a very, very good baseball team. Do I see them taking one? No, but again, this team has, I think, proved a lot of people wrong this year. So if they were to break the record, I wouldn't be surprised if it came against Denison.
I think it might be like a same situation. Waynesburg's getting ready to prepare for the tournament. Maybe Denison's getting ready to prepare for their respective
Just
tournament.
keep the guys loose kind of thing. So
yeah. So Perry Cunningham scheduling this doubleheader to kind of get probably some of the other guys that haven't been in the pitching rotation or just starting in general some action this season. Now, speaking of which, Spencer, the first game of the tournament will be coming up in the next week or so. Who do we think, or I guess I should say, who do you think should get the start on the mound for game 1? Obviously, we know Dolan Lucy's been killing it this year. Ethan Earhart has shown his glimpses as well of being that pitcher he was last year. Who do you think starts on the mound, and then what are the results for the next game if Waynesburg is to win?
Yeah, so I think for the Denison series, you're not going to see Lucy or Earhart because, again, non-conference. Yeah, you want to break the record, but is it really that important to throw your 2 best guys when you're this close to the tournament, which you haven't really made in forever? It's so hard because, Dalton Lucy, we talk about all the time, he's a guy who puts this ball in the zone and kind of relies on the defense behind him. And then you have Ethan Earhart, who is, a guy who throws strikes, can get guys out. He had 5 strikeouts in game 2 and picked up that win, walked 4. If you're going to ask me, I'd like to see Lucy. He's 6-2. He's been hot all year. He had that one bad loss against W&J and then picked up his second loss in that first game against Juniata. But again, I think they're interchangeable. I think, I mentioned at the beginning of that Lucy was the number 1, but I think you can't really put one over the other. I think they're both phenomenal pitchers. And at the end of the day, I think it's going to be Lucy or Earhart. Whether Perry goes one way or the other, we'll have to wait and see. But for me, I would like to see Lucy, but I wouldn't be upset with Earhart either. They're both phenomenal pitchers.
We were talking about it. Playoffs are just around the corner. And I actually was able to have Alec Engelmore, Trent Rafa, and Ethan Earhart in the radio station with me the other day.
Hey.
And we were talking it up, talking about playoff scenarios and everything like that. And they're ready. They are ready to get into it. Now, what does this team need to do, Spencer, to be able to get into a deep playoff run?
Well, like you mentioned, these guys are fired up. We saw it from the moment we were in Florida. They were fired up, and they are still fired up. I think, too, here's the thing. When you haven't touched this tournament in forever. You have a team who's playing well. You're breaking all expectations. keep that fire going, but you've got to be able to somehow contain it. They cannot go into this first matchup, whether against Grove, WJ, whoever they may play. You can't go into this first matchup and completely think you're going to stomp this team. I mean, again, this is a Waynesburg team that has broken a lot of our expectations, but I mean, there's a chance they get upset. I mean, we saw them have a real bad day against W&J, and they got run ruled both games. Now, I think they can beat W&J, but baseball is one of those sports where we see upsets happen all the time. You never know what's going to happen. So I think if you're Waynesburg, you keep this fire going that you have with this record-tying season with a chance to break it, but you also got to, contain it. You can't go into this game, we're going to win, we're going to smoke them. And I think they'll be fine.
And I mentioned to Seth in the opening segment, if the season were to end how the standings are today, it would be Grove City right back up against Waynesburg. Now, it was a split. Waynesburg lost the first game 9-2 and was able to take game 2 9-8 in 10 innings. What does Waynesburg have to do to flip that? Because though it is a double elimination tournament, obviously your goal is win game 1, then you got 2 losses to play with come championship time. So how can they be able to come out strong against Grove City rather than this doubleheader where they lost 9-2 the first game?
Yeah, it's going to rely on the offensive side of things. We've seen Dalton Mount play well all year, but these young freshmen on the bat side of things have been killing it. Garrett Comer and Trent Giraffa have been huge on the side of the bats. And if you're Waynesburg, you kind of just use that momentum that you have all season. Again, we've mentioned it a lot, but again, this is a team that we didn't expect to do this well. If you ride that into the postseason, you've got a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. These guys have talked to us about that. They were ranked 7 in the preseason polls, and now you make the tournament. And again, in those preseason polls, they were not supposed to make the tournament. You prove a lot of teams wrong. And also against that Grove City game, none of the 2 aces pitched in those first 2 games. So we're going to see one of those 2 guys pitch. And again, this is a team that I'm very excited to watch them. I know we'll be gone when they hit that playoffs. We'll be graduated and out of here, but I will be watching. I'm very excited to see what they do.
Now, like you said, they proved the polls wrong. They've done all of this, all of that. Some really great stuff. Now, what's got to be the mentality going into this playoff scenario? You haven't been there in so many years. You got to prove the people that you got it. What do they got to do to make sure that they stay focused into this playoff?
We mentioned, all right, these guys, they have fire behind them. And you break you tie a record, you're having a great season. But I think if you're Waynesburg baseball and if you're head coach Perry Cunningham, you say to your guys, listen, we made it this far. We're in the tournament. Don't take this for granted. I mean, again, this is a team that hasn't been here in a while. And again, if you're Waynesburg baseball, you just kind of have fun with it, but you keep it at a level where you don't stress yourself out. You don't get it's hard to explain because this team hasn't seen it in so long. And do you come in hot? Do you come in with a lot of energy? Do you try to keep your cool and maintain things? So again, we've seen this team. They like to get riled up in that dugout. And hopefully that'll carry over into the playoffs.
Well, thank you, Spencer, for sitting down with us and talking about baseball for the last time of JSW. But don't go anywhere. We got another playoff team coming up with softball with Mia Hankins. Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to WCYJ FM 99.5 The Hive, your home for everything Waynesburg. Our campus radio station gives students like you a chance to work in live studio environment without ever leaving Waynesburg. WCYJ FM has specialty shows, sports recaps, and updates, weather, and live coverage of your Yellow Jackets. Tune in at 99.5 The Hive or online at waynesburg.edu/listen.
Welcome back to Jacket Sports Weekly. We're going to stick with the Diamond for the last time of JSW. And today we have Mia Hankins to discuss softball with us. So, Mia, how are you doing today?
Doing very good. I'm excited that it's the last week of school, if I'm being honest.
Amen. Last week of
Mr.
school
Grown-Up over here.
Ever.
Obviously,
Mr.
I'm going to
Grown-Up.
miss this, but not really anything else.
Academic.
If I'm being honest, so.
Bio. Anyway. All right, so huge series against Westminster the other day, clinching a playoff spot. So give us a little bit of your thoughts on that.
I think that Waynesburg, with the kind of the season that they've been having recently, the kind of the decline in play, I think that they really needed this Westminster game. Obviously, Westminster is the number 1 seed in the pack. We know this. And they did beat Westminster last year for the PAC championship. So I think that going into this game off of a loss to Allegheny, 2 losses to Allegheny actually in the doubleheader, I think that they were going into this with a lot of motivation and they really wanted to clinch that spot in the tournament and as the 6th seed. So I think that they just got a lot of motivation, got a little fire under their butt, and I think that that was kind of a weird term that I just used, but fire under their butt. But I think that they needed that, and I think that this win against Westminster is going to be really good for them, and I think that it's going to take them far in this tournament.
Confidence booster.
For sure.
I think one thing that you have to note from these 4 games is where was Autumn Stemple? We saw Sydney Wilson and Trinity Edge take all the work in the circle for the softball team. Obviously, we won't disclose anything if you were to know anything about that, but moving forward into the tournament play, what can we expect pitching-wise? Should we just expect Sydney Wilson go out, pitch every game, all 7 innings? Do we expect Trinity Edge to get some time in the circle? Do we expect her to play third base? What should we expect from the pitching rotation for Waynesburg?
I do expect Sydney Wilson to come out and pitch against
Geneva.
Geneva, excuse me. They're playing Geneva, so I expect Sydney Wilson to come out and pitch against her. I do think that Trinity Edge will be used as a reliever, however. I'm not really sure about Autumn Stemple. I think that she could be useful when it comes to tournament play, so I think that using her on the mound would be really good for Waynesburg. However, I think that Sydney Wilson will start them off, just kind of get the rhythm going a little bit. As we know, Sydney Wilson is the #1 pitcher in the PAC, and she is the best on Waynesburg as of right now. So I think that it will be useful for her to start off against Geneva. I think that Trinity Edge has showed that she can come in and relieve Sydney Wilson well throughout the year. So I think that Waynesburg will also use her as well.
And we mentioned it, Geneva coming up in the round 1. They split with Geneva earlier in the season. The one win they did have was in extra innings. So what can we expect from this team to hopefully not have another game? Because I believe the other game they lost, they were shut out, and they had this other one that was super close. What can they do to make sure that they secure this first win in round 1?
I think that Waynesburg has a really good chance at beating Geneva, and I think that the game earlier in the year against Geneva, I believe that was kind of when they were hitting their decline in the year. So I think that they will be able to step up and beat them and play just as well as they did the other day against Westminster. Obviously, hitting wasn't great against Allegheny when they played in their doubleheader. So I think that has definitely gone up, especially with Emma Bliss hitting that home run against Westminster, to win the game. I think that is really going to help them out. And I think that their batting will continue to go up. Like we said last week, we saw that their batting has gone down a little bit in numbers. So I think that now that they've shown that they can hit well against Westminster, they'll do that against Geneva in their first tournament game.
And you mentioned the bats are struggling, but it is tournament time. Seth and I mentioned in the open, they're back-to-back PAC champs. Nobody's going to come in this tournament, despite them being the last team to make it in. Nobody should come in, take Waynesburg lightly. Why should teams in the PAC, knowing that the back-to-back champs are now barely making it into the tournament, why should they still have fear or at least be looking out for Waynesburg to get right back to where they were?
When it comes to Waynesburg on this season, obviously, like we've talked about, they haven't played to their potential, in my opinion. But I believe that after a game like Westminster, where they did play so well and so different from the games before, I think that teams that will be playing them, such as Geneva in the first round, I think that they should not overlook that game. I feel like a lot of people are thinking maybe that they're just won because it was in 9 innings, that it was a close one, they lost the second game. But I think that this game has shown how they can play all year round. And I think that just because they didn't play to that potential all year doesn't mean that they won't reach that potential eventually throughout the tournament. So I think that Geneva needs to watch out for Waynesburg and needs to pay close attention to that Westminster game, because I think that's how they will play against them.
So, and we mentioned it, how, they're just making it into the playoffs. They're going to be kind of a sleeper team. Now, I know we had some earlier opinions that did not pan out the way we wanted to. I mean, we expected this team to be a lot better than they were. But do you think that this team, because we've seen, like you said, the potential that they have, will they go on a deep playoff run? Do you think they will?
I think they will, yes. Waynesburg finished the season 19-16, and they split in the pack. So they're 10-10 in the PAC. I think that obviously their record doesn't show how well they actually can play together. And I believe that it's almost a chemistry thing. Like, I think that the Westminster game, they really came together as a team and just really showed how they can play together. So when it comes to the tournament, I think that they'll come together once again and they can make a run like they have in the past.
And so if Waynesburg is to get past Geneva in the first round of the tournament, they would head right back to play against Westminster, because the lowest seed would then meet the highest seed. How can Waynesburg try and prevent an extra inning game against Westminster? Obviously, in the doubleheader, they won game 1, so that proves, If it's a best 101, Waynesburg would have been moving on theoretically. How can they avoid having to go 9 innings, pitch Sydney Wilson 9 innings, and get the bats some support behind what has been very good pitching for Waynesburg?
I think it all comes down once again to motivation. I mean, their game against Westminster, I think, like Seth said before, is definitely a confidence boost. Waynesburg, like I said, beat them last year for the PAC championship. So I think honestly, just knowing that you can be a team like that is ranked number 1 and that has played so well all season compared to Waynesburg, who has just played honestly average compared to their seasons before. I think that just having it in your mind that you know that you can beat them and that just that you can play with them, even not even beat them, just that you can play up to their potential is what's really going to help them win the game. And I think that when it comes to batting, like I said, once again, motivation, coming together as a team and believing in one another and just continuing to get the bats going throughout that game.
Now let's talk about the future a little bit. I mean, we had back-to-back championships, and now we had this year that was kind of in the middle of the road, finished 6th. What's going to happen next? What do you think is going to happen in these next couple of years? Are we going to stay where we are? Are we going to go up? Like, what's going to happen?
I feel like in the next few years, we're still going to be a pretty good team, pretty solid core. But obviously, we are losing seniors like Emma Bliss, Ella Brookman, and I believe Kayla Grattan was a senior. So I think that obviously those players are a core to the team, and they've done so well over their 4 years here. So I think they're going to have a little bit of a deficit just because they're losing leadership. I know that those 3 players specifically, because they are seniors, have had such a big impact on the team leadership-wise. So I think that finding new leaders that can do just as well or even better than these seniors will be difficult. But I think playing-wise, they'll do just as well. And talent-wise, they'll bring in freshmen that are just as good as the ones we've seen now, like Trinity Edge, Sydney Waryanka. So I think that they will be as good as they have been. Maybe a small deficit just because of that senior leadership.
Well, thank you, Mia, for sitting down with us and talking about softball. We're going to go to the track and field with Michael McKenzie coming up.
Good?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good.
What you play?
I'll probably just walk home.
You walk?
Yeah.
You didn't drive, right?
No.
Be safe.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna get going now.
Alright, put some cool water on this thing.
Alright. I need to go home.
Hey, where are you going? I'm walking home. I'll see you boys at the next one, alright?
Welcome back to Jacket Sports Weekly. Today we're going to be talking about track and field with no one else other than Michael McKenzie.
It's great
Welcome,
to be
Michael
here.
McKenzie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's
sweater
great
on.
to be back
Are
up
you
here.
cold?
I do got the sweater.
Are you cold?
I got ice in my veins.
Oh, okay. Seth, just
But I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. Let's go. Track and field.
You're done.
It's time to
Track and field. Let's talk about the men's side first. Give us a little bit of a breakdown of how the PAC championships went.
PAC championships, it was great for Waynesburg, at least the men. They finished 4th place as a team. Women, they finished 9th place as a team. For the women, their notable finishers, Meg Berry, 4th in the javelin throw with a season best 37.1 meter throw. Natalie Double, she was 6th in the javelin throw with a 35.41 meter throw. That was a personal best for Natalie. Grace Tanksley, 4th in the 10K with a 39.37 time, a personal best for her as well. Ella Rochelle, 7th in the triple jump with a 10.37 meter collection of jumps, personal best for her. And 5th in the 200 with another personal best time of 26.38. So a lot of personal bests, a lot of top 10 finishes for the women. Although they did finish 9th place as a team, not necessarily the team finish that they wanted, but some individual performances. Once again, overall, the women put some I was going to say players, but obviously that's not correct, competitors
There we go.
up there in the top 10 of the PAC championships.
So now let's head to the other side. Some hardware was brought home for the men's team. Couple first place medals, couple second place, a few third place medals. Just go ahead, get into those top 10 and are medal winners for the PAC Championship.
Yeah, a lot of hardware, a lot of medals, things coming home for the men. First off, Andrew Casper, PAC champion in the 10K with a 31:53.59 time. That a school record as well for Casper, and finished 4th in the 5K with a 15:43.10 time. Isaiah Matthews also brought home a PAC championship. He was 1st in the 100 meter, also set a school record with a 10.75 second time. Great day for Matthews, who also finished 2nd in the 200 meter with a school record 21.72 second time. So he set 2 school records, a silver medal and a gold medal. Isaiah Matthews, great day for him at the PAC championships. Quentin Weaver, he set the indoor track and field 800 meter record over the winter here in the spring, sets the school record for the outdoor 800 meter run with a 1 minute 54 second even time. Again, that a school record. Ty Williams, 110 meter hurdles, he finishes 2nd there with a 15.47 second time. Man, it's just a lot to read off here. You
numbers.
I like to think I can read. There's a lot of things to go off, and I'm only halfway through here. Kai Herbert tied for 3rd in the high jump with a 1.83 meter jump. Season best for him. Jacob Harker, 4th in the shot put and 5th in the discus. Both personal bests. He put up a 14.29 meter throw in the shot put and a 41.46 meter throw in the discus. Kyle Casella, 4th in the 400 meter hurdles with a 58.08 second time. John Stewart, 3rd in the discus throw with a 42.05 meter time, good enough for the bronze medal in that department. In the relay team, they finished 5th overall. It was Kyle Casella, Zach Barat, Aaron Sanders, and Quentin Weaver. They finished 5th with a 3 minute 35.32 second time. Somebody let me catch my breath here.
Seth, let him get a second.
Take a breather, my friend. You were going on for like probably 2 minutes straight there. Now, we're not done yet, though.
No.
The PAC Championship is not the final meet. There are some last chance meets, actually 3 of them, and all over different locations, things like that. So give us a little bit of a breakdown when you're ready.
I think I'm ready.
In through the nose, out through the mouth.
I think I'm ready.
Whenever you're ready.
I've got enough of a breather here. WVU last chance meet, that's happening on May 4th. 5 confirmed competitors for Waynesburg, 2 women in Meg Berry and Natalie Double, 3 men in Quentin Weaver, Kyle Casella, and John Stewart. These last chance meets, obviously there's 2 more after WVU, but they're like it says, it's in the name. Last chance for competitors to get into nationals. For Division III, you have to finish either top 18 or top 20, depending on your event. In the entire division across the nation to qualify for nationals. It's not first place in conference championships or top 3 in your conference championship meets. It's top 20 or top 18 across the country, depending on your event or whatever. So those 5 competitors, 2 women, 3 men, going to the WVU last chance meet. May 9th, it's the Marty Goldberg Gator Invitational in Medville, PA. Allegheny hosting that one, another PAC team in another last chance meet. And then May 15th through the 16th, it's the Mount Union last chance meet at Mount Union in northeastern Ohio. So those are the last chances for Waynesburg competitors that want to get themselves to nationals, to get themselves qualified, potentially get top 20 or top 18 times in all of Division III across the country. Now for the last 2 last chance meets on May 9th and then May 15th and 16th in Medville and northeastern Ohio. There's only 2 confirmed competitors for that one, Meg Berry and Natalie Double, the 2 women. No men competitors confirmed for those last 2 last chance meets. Obviously still time till those occur, but as of now, Meg Berry and Natalie Double, the only 2 confirmed to be going to all 3 last chance meets on May 4th, May 9th, and then May 15th through the 16th.
And being that this is the last episode, just give us a quick recap of the season for both the men's and women's. Obviously, we talked about the weather constantly. I mean, how could you not talk about it when it's like 30
It's
degrees?
outside.
Yeah, it's outdoor season
running,
with indoor weather, you know? So just a quick recap, of the season for the men and women.
Despite, the weather being great the last couple weekends, this wasn't the plan, but, wearing the sweater, it was, weather-wise at least, it was a bit indicative of those early season temperatures, cold, windy, things like that, but it didn't matter really for Waynesburg. They battled through it. A lot of individual top finishes at the meets that they went to, whether the whole team went or it was just a select few or they were optional meets to compete in for Waynesburg competitors, both women and men. Men did a great job at the PACs. I think that was indicative of how their season went, 4th place finish as a team. I feel like women you look at the 9th place finish and you think, okay, maybe not so great of a season, but there were so many different meets and different competitors that got great individual finishes in their different meets, a lot of them happening up at WVU in Morgantown, but a lot of individual great performances here and there for the women. I don't think that 9th place finish at the PAC Championships truly, tells us how good their season was. I think they had a very solid season, and a lot of the individual performances, I think, would tell that story. Now, we're at the end here. I want to reverse the roles on you, Logan Lepiscopo. This is our last show of the semester here on WCTV. Last JSW. It's your last show ever as a Waynesburg student. I want you to finish out the show by answering the question, just how great has your time here at Waynesburg been?
I mean, to sum it up shortly, it's been great. If you really want to know, you can go watch my senior spotlight on the YouTube
Shameless
page.
plug, but
it'd just be easier way for them to hear my whole story instead of taking another 10, 15 minutes to ramble on here. But this year specifically has been tremendous. Being able to sit here next to Seth every single Monday to film Jacket Sports Weekly. The past 3 years, I watch other guys come up here on the desk, host a show. And now I finally got to fill in that position rather than the analyst. And it's just been great. Everybody that's been able to come up, talk about the Waynesburg Athletics, we've been able to put a lot of spotlight on a lot of great athletes, great programs that we have had here. So definitely grateful for not only you and Seth, but for everybody else that has came up here and talked. We mentioned earlier, Spencer is his last time on. I'm going to give him a shout out, even though, I could probably save it for a different time. He's been my roommate the past 4 years. It's just great to be able to, come on here, talk about sports, about him. It's what we both love, both what we want to do. So special shout out to him for being able to come on each and every week, talk about football, baseball, whatever he's thrown on. So, Seth.
Hold on.
Good luck.
I got to say, I know we take things lighthearted. We have a lot of fun here. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, it's
but I just want to say thank you, Logan, for everything that you've done for me. I'm so glad I was able to sit up here on this desk with you this whole year and have such a fun time doing this with you. And I wish you nothing but the best. And I'm gonna miss you, man. We're getting emotional.
Guys too. But I know the department is in good hands. I know JSW is in good hands as well. Again, Mike, thank you for coming on, talking about track and field. And Seth, thank you for being my co-host all year long.
Thank you so much for being here, Logan.
Of course.
It's truly been an honor all year.
Well, that's going to sum up this episode of Jacket Sports Weekly. Again, thank you guys very much for coming on. And that's it for our WCTV content for the 2023-24 school year. Make sure you stay tuned to the YouTube page. If you can't make it to commencement, we will be live streaming both days of graduation here at Waynesburg University. So thank you for watching, and they'll see you back in the fall of 2024.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.